If you spend any time, just driving through a growing city or even a town where housing is tight, you see it. You see
Yeah.
this visible evidence of something truly frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
The signs of inertia are they're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Vacant sites, prime real estate, sitting untouched for years, even with all this scarcity.
And you see those big announcements, right? A huge new development is coming. There's a big press release.
Yeah.
And then nothing. It just stalls out. The land gets bought, sold, traded again between different funds, but no homes actually appear.
It creates this real sense of bewilderment. And for people listening, for you, the question is always just why? Why does it feel so stuck?
We know there's massive demand. We know the need is critical. And, we know there's money to be made. So why does perfectly good buildable land just sit there,
Yeah,
seemingly wasted?
exactly. And that feeling, that sense that something is broken, that's our starting point for this deep dive. Our mission today, looking at the source material, is to move past that simple frustration.
Right.
We're going to examine if this inaction is really a failure or if it's actually a perfectly rational response to the system we've built around housing.
And that's such a fascinating shift in thinking. The sources really demand that we stop focusing so much on the individual players, the developers or landowners.
And look at the rulebook instead.
Exactly. Instead of asking, why are people failing to build, we need to ask, given the financial structure we have, would we really expect things to move any faster? It's all about the incentives, not the intentions.
That reframing is so powerful. Suddenly the silence on those vacant lots, it sounds less like a mistake and more like a strategy.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. The core idea is that housing and land behave like investments first, places to live second.
Overwhelmingly so.
So if that's the principle, how does delay stop looking like a failure and start looking like a strategic decision?
It all comes down to the scarcity mechanism. That's the engine for high investment returns, right? In any market where the supply of something really desirable, like, say, buildable land near a big city is limited, prices just tend to go up.
Consistently.
Consistently. And the sources highlight that in this kind of environment, waiting isn't passive. It's an active choice. It achieves something very specific. It nudges the value of your asset upwards.
So when a developer holds back, they aren't just waiting for some magic signal. They're just benefiting from the fact that there isn't enough supply in general.
Precisely. And this doesn't require some secret meeting or a dark conspiracy. It just requires people acting sensibly in the financial world they're in. If you, listening right now, imagine owning that scarce, high-value plot of land, well, the logic becomes pretty clear pretty fast.
Okay, so let's try that. Let's put ourselves in the shoes of a big landowner or an investment fund.
Mm-hmm.
If I build quickly, what am I doing, risk-wise?
Well, you're introducing a massive amount of operational risk. Construction is. It's just really expensive. It's complex. It's volatile. Think about it. Material costs go up and down like crazy. You have labor shortages causing huge delays. Every single day, your project is sitting half-built. You're bleeding money, carrying costs, interest, overheads. The risks are huge.
And if I just hold the land instead?
You eliminate all of that. All that operational risk just vanishes. Land doesn't need maintenance. It doesn't need plumbers. It doesn't have surprise costs.
Right.
You pay your taxes, maybe the interest on the loan you used to buy it, and you just wait. And while you wait, the market around you, which is still starved for supply, makes sure the asset you're holding, the land itself, is going up in value anyway.
That is an incredibly cold calculation. So I'm trading high-risk, hands-on work for low-risk, passive financial gain just based on market momentum.
Yes. The sources are really clear on how much safer holding is, especially for big investors. Why go through the difficult, risky act of building when your asset appreciates just because everyone else is also waiting?
So holding the land, especially if you've already got the development rights, that offers a better risk-adjusted return than actually building?
That's the key phrase right there. A much better risk-adjusted return. So what looks like foot dragging to you, driving by that empty lot?
Internally, to the fund manager, it looks like sound financial management. A defensive play.
It's a fundamental paradox of the system. If housing does well as an investment because supply is limited,
then increasing the supply feels like you're undermining your own asset.
Exactly. It feels much safer to back the existing scarcity than to invest millions in fixing it.
And once enough players, landowners, builders, investment funds, once they all figure this out, we go from individual delay to this this collective paralysis, which is what the sources call the Mexican standoff.
It's a brilliant description, isn't it? It just captures that sense of mutual fear. It's not that everyone's waiting for the exact same reason.
They're all waiting.
We're all waiting, just for slightly different reasons, and it all reinforces the deadlock. Everyone's got a gun pointed at the scarcity premium, and nobody wants to be the one to lower theirs first.
Okay, let's break down the waiting game. If I'm a big builder, what am I waiting for?
You, the builder, are waiting for prices to firm up even more. You need to guarantee that when you finally commit that huge amount of capital to construction, you'll definitely get the highest possible return.
You don't want to get burned by inflation or a sudden drop.
Never. You're also watching your competitors.
And what about the investor, the one holding the big tracts of land?
They're waiting for demand to rise just a little bit more. Their profit is all about that time premium. Every single month that goes by without new supply makes their asset, that limited land, more and more valuable.
Right. And then you have the consumers, the actual people. Buyers are waiting desperately for prices to stop running away from them.
And at the same time, sellers are waiting for prices to improve even more because they're banking on that same trend continuing.
So it's this self-reinforcing loop of caution. Nobody wants to be the first one to build aggressively and maybe flood a local market.
And let everyone else profit from their risk. And crucially, nobody wants to build this month, only to find out that because everyone else waited, prices jumped 15% next quarter. That means you sold too cheap.
And nothing moves forward. On the surface, it just looks like indecision or bureaucracy. But underneath, it's just highly strategic defensive caution. And it rewards doing nothing.
This is usually where the conversation turns to planning permission, right? The assumption is that the red tape must be the real problem, and if we just fix that...
then the deadlock breaks.
Right. And, that raises a really important question. If we solve the planning bottleneck, does that automatically mean construction starts?
And the answer seems to be not necessarily. I mean, administrative delays are real, of course, but the sources make this strong case that once planning permission is granted, it changes. It stops being a hurdle and starts being an asset.
That is such a crucial point. Planning permission is not a construction mandate. It's an optional extra that adds value to the land. You now own land that is legally ready to build on, but you're not obligated to start tomorrow.
So if I get permission today, I can sit on that land for 5 years. That permission actually allows me to wait, time the market, and sell the whole package land plus permission for a much higher price later on.
Exactly. The permission just becomes another financial instrument that can be held and traded and timed.
It's something you own rather than something you act on, and it just reinforces the inertia. And all of this collective rational delay brings us to a really stark contradiction. This paradox makes the human cost feel, well, truly absurd.
It's a shocking contrast laid out right there in the material. On one hand, you have vast amounts of land, enough for hundreds of thousands of approved, shovel-ready homes just sitting there unused, sometimes for a decade or more.
And on the other hand, the sources point to this crushing reality that over 1 million households are on social housing waiting lists. They're just desperate for a stable home. The approved plots exist, the homes don't.
And if you look at the numbers, the scale of this problem, it's not a minor issue, it's a national emergency. Right now, we build, on a good year, maybe 200,000 to 250,000 homes.
Which sounds like a lot, but what do we actually need?
Sources are pretty clear. Just to stand still, just to stop the gap between demand and supply from getting any wider, we need to be building around 300,000 homes a year. Every year.
So we're falling behind every single year.
Every single year.
And if the goal isn't just to stop falling behind, but to actually start catching up, to make a real dent in that waiting list and fix the historic shortage, what are we talking about then?
Then you're looking at something closer to 350,000 homes a year, and you have to sustain that rate for at least a decade. To put that in perspective, that's a 40 to 75% increase on what we do now. It's like building a new city the size of Liverpool or Glasgow every 5 or 6 years, year after year.
That scale is just staggering. And yet, despite the human demand, the quantitative shortage, the waiting lists, and all this inaction on approved land, prices keep going up relentlessly.
That price anomaly is maybe the clearest sign that the system is working exactly as designed. Very little actually changes on the ground.
The supply deficit stays the same.
But the financial value of the assets, the land and the existing homes, is constantly increasing, precisely because that inertia is protecting the scarcity.
So let's bring this all back to where we started, that feeling of frustration. When we look for someone to blame, the greedy developer or the NIMBY neighbor, The sources make this crucial distinction.
Yeah, they argue that the impulse to blame specific people, while it's emotionally satisfying, it often misses the real point.
Right. Blaming individuals suggests that if those people just had better morals or were less greedy, things would start moving.
But that ignores the systemic engine that's driving their behavior. I mean, people aren't being deliberately obstructive, not really. They're doing exactly what the incentives around them reward them for doing.
When the whole financial framework rewards holding, waiting, and treating property as a way to accumulate wealth, well, that's what people are going to do.
It's rational behavior inside a broken incentive structure. And we have to remember, this structure didn't just appear out of nowhere. It's the cumulative result of decades of decisions by successive governments across the political spectrum, shaping taxes, zoning, and risk.
So the better, deeper question for you listening to carry forward isn't why aren't specific people building? It's what does our financial world actually encourage people to do?
And when you look at it that way, the answer is, well, it's unsettlingly clear. The current structure encourages inertia. It encourages delay. Because delay translates directly into increased financial value and reduced risk for the person holding the asset.
We started by looking at why land just sits vacant. And we've realized that the inertia is a perfectly rational response, trapping everyone in this collective Mexican standoff, where moving first is the riskiest possible decision.
Yeah, our deep dive really shows that until the underlying incentives shift, until the risk of building becomes way lower, or the financial reward for building becomes much higher and faster than just passively holding land, that inertia is going to continue to rule the market.
Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you to mull over. If waiting has become the most sensible, risk-averse, financially sound choice for absolutely everyone involved, investors, landowners, builders, even cautious buyers and sellers, how does anything ever get unstuck?
How do we ever hit that crucial 350,000 homes a year target? That's the systemic challenge that remains. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Until next time.